Hello, and welcome to Unlocking Real Estate, My First Commission. I'm your host, Tina Lapp, and I'm head of industry relations and career excellence for Colibri Real Estate. I've been in real estate education for over 30 years, helping individuals enter and succeed in their real estate careers.
Welcome to Unlocking Real Estate, My First Commission, where we dive into real stories, big wins, and early lessons learned from highly successful rookie real estate agents and brokers. This is the series where we explore how real estate transforms lives, one home at a time, by sitting down each week with a new agent or broker who has found incredible success in their first year. Your hosts are instructors and leaders at Colibri Real Estate School, one of the largest real estate educators in the nation, where we focus on helping people like you get started or find continued success in their careers.
Today's discussion with Bryan Coco is so fun. Bryan is a 2025 finalist for the RISMedia Rookie of the Year program. He's had almost $7 million in volume already in 2025, and he's on target to exceed $11 million. Bryan has been licensed in New York for less than 2 years, but he's got a vast background in different disciplines in the real estate industry, including business analysis, construction, and marketing, just to name a few. Listen to how Bryan has hit his stride and his unique path in real estate. We are here today with Bryan Coco. Bryan, will you take a moment to introduce yourself, where you live, and what company you're with?
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. My name is Bryan Coco. I'm here in Long Island, New York, the greater New York City metropolitan area, and I currently work at Kelly Real Estate and Development.
Wonderful. Thanks for being with us today, Bryan. I'm so excited to jump into your story and explore and share with our audience kind of where you found all your success. So we're going to jump into that and what you've been able to do. Let's start with this, because I know you have a really cool background story. Will you take a few minutes and share with us like what you were doing before you were licensed in New York and where you are now? And I know there's a lot, so give us the highlights, because I think
All
it's
right.
super interesting.
Thank you, Tina. I'm going to try and be brief as I can.
Love it.
Well, I'll try and keep it to real estate mostly too. But my journey starts about 15 years ago in Florida. Born and raised in New York, moved down to Florida for university. During the undergraduate process, I was doing martial arts. It's always been a hobby of mine. While I was there, I was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I met a Brazilian guy. His name was Gabriel, really nice guy. And I was following him on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and I was always looking at him. I was like, this guy's always in these penthouses and selling these beautiful multi-million-dollar properties. I want to be like this guy. And I had a job that time. My history's kind of always been real estate oriented, so I was working as a real estate analyst. This was a very technical role. I was researching properties. I was looking through public records. I was identifying properties that were affected by either mold or Chinese drywall issues that lawsuits and insurance money would take care of. So what would happen is we would identify these properties for investors. We would send them to them, and then we would work out deals where investors would purchase the property, the homeowner would do some remediation via insurance, and then, however the transaction would happen, it would happen. So it was a very technical role. And I went to Gabriel at the time, and I was like, hey, Gabriel, this is what I currently do. I'm semi-involved in real estate, but I want to do what you do. And he was like, well, you don't have your real estate license. And I was like, be right back. So I was in Florida at the time, about 2014, 2013.
Okay.
I took a real estate course a week and a half in person every single day. At the beginning of the course, I scheduled my final exam and state exam so that they would all line up within a couple weeks to a month. And I was licensed pretty quickly, which I don't know if you can do that anymore, but it worked out fantastic for me.
Yeah.
So I went to work with Gabriel. I came on, and this was 15, 16, 17, 18 years ago. First year in real estate in Florida. That year, I grinded so hard. I did about 7 rental transactions, maybe 2 home sales. And I, at that point, had kind of decided like real estate might not be for me. Like, clients are difficult and there's always things that come up. And I was young and I didn't have the same patience that I have now. Um, so after the first year, I was like, Gabriel, man, this is not really working out for me. How can we kind of how can I fit into a different role here? I became his sort of quasi director of marketing. I was hiring agents. And at that time, it was a really interesting time, and especially Miami, Sunny Isles Beach, in that area, as we had a lot of international attraction. So there were investors coming from, Russia, Canada, predominantly comes north and down. New Yorkers have always loved Florida. Even South Americans would come north, and Gabriel was Brazilian. That's how I met him in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So he had a lot of contacts bringing over clients from South America and Brazil in particular. So I sort of took his model at that time when I got there. He had a couple partnerships with firms, and we would target these boutique luxury firms who had high net worth individuals in other countries. And I mean, Brazil specifically, like at that time, Brazil was in major cities like Rio or Sao Paulo or Florianopolis. Safety was a major concern. The conversion to the US dollar was a major concern, international currency. So if you're a high net worth individual in another company, or rather another country, you're worried about, is my family going to be safe? Can I drive a convertible? Do I have to have bulletproof glass on my home? Is my currency or my assets protected in banks with governments, and is there stability? So we were able to attract, and he was able to um, craft these partnerships with these small brokerages where we would essentially do email marketing before email was a thing. We would capture their lead lists and we would market to their clients, and we would entice their clients to come to Miami. So we were really buyer reps for luxury properties, especially in the pre-construction space. So there was a lot of building going on in Miami at that time. I mean, we had the Jade buildings. They did 3 on the water: Jade Ocean, Jade Signature. There was Porsche Design Tower, and there were a lot of luxury developments. So I saw firsthand what it was like to kind of be in that space of ultra high net worth and ultra luxury properties, their marketing, how they sold, what they were offering their clients. And it was a really great experience. So I think when I went there, it was Gabriel and his wife. It was a 2-person team. I came in 3. By the time we were done, we had about 7 agents. And we had, maybe somewhere between 20 and 30 partnerships with these international boutique firms, and things were going really well. Gabriel sold the company inevitably to a company called Decorus. He took a percentage and a space in their office, and life went on. I went back to school. I got an MBA. I was at Florida Atlantic University. We kind of discussed that. You have
Yes,
family in that
my
area.
daughter. Yeah.
Well, so while I was there, their best MBA program, I had good grades at the time. Not when I first began schooling, but in my later years, I really picked it up and got my GPA really high. So I was able to get into this MBA program at Florida Atlantic University. It was the sports management program, and my general idea was to kind of combine my real estate experience from this life to the sports world. So I had wanted to kind of be an owner's rep, work on the retail and the commercialization of these large stadiums and sports in the sports world. But I quickly realized that there wasn't really a generalized job, because a lot of these team owners are involved in real estate themselves, whether they're developers or not. They have people or themselves or outside representation, like kind of we are currently, who handle this for them. So there wasn't really like a dedicated in-house real estate team at some of these large, sporting organizations. But I got great experience. I got to work for the Miami Dolphins, the Florida Panthers, some minor league basketball teams, and it was really good. But I quickly learned that sports was not necessarily where I wanted to be. After that, pretty entrepreneurial. Started a company. A company after that was in farming. agricultural seed production to finance. I mean, I was kind of all over the place. My
Wow.
friends would call and they would say, "Hey, let's start a company." And I was like, I'm on the next plane. So Florida, Colorado, Pennsylvania, and inevitably I wound up back in New York around COVID times. Um, Me and my one of my best friends and business partners at that time we've always been discussing real estate, and kind of buying our own properties and getting into it, and that was something that we discussed for a really long time. And we both bought houses. He bought one in Florida, and I bought one in upstate New York, a little town called Gloversville, which is per capita one of the most ridden areas. Um, and I learned to love the town. It was a fantastic place. But I bought a home for like 80 grand, fixed it up, no water, no power. I was sleeping in my truck with a blow
Oh
up
my gosh.
mattress. And over COVID, I had decided that I didn't want to work in front of a computer. So I was working at a general contractor's, learning the trades. I really wanted to use my hands, and that was something that I wanted to do growing up, was like become handy, right? Feel like, I learned so much about real estate, except the construction aspect of it, the building aspect, the handyman aspect of it. And there we were, in two separate states, fixing and flipping our own homes. And I think over 7 months, this was my first flip, I was able to turn a profit of like $10,000 or $15,000. So I was like,
All right.
that's a win.
That's a
That's a
win.
win for me. Um,
I love it.
so from there, I continued in the trades. It eventually got to a space where I had enough skills to potentially go out, start my own painting, drywall, plastering company. And I was actively seeking roles. And that's when I found Kelly Real Estate and Kelly Development, and they picked me up. They enjoyed the experience that I had at a managerial level, at a team level, and I've probably the best decision that I've ever made to get involved in this builder new construction space. Mm.
Wow, Brian, I mean, what a history. What a like busy 15 years. You obviously have that true entrepreneurial spirit. Like you like to take risks and opportunities. You've tried a lot of different things. And in talking with you previously, like it sounds like you now have landed in your place, right? Like this, you're rocking it. Things are going really well. Talk me through that. So you went back to New York,
Yeah,
right? So we've now sort of traveled around the country with
yeah,
you and your journey. So now you go back to New
yeah,
York. You went and got your real estate license in New York next,
yeah.
right?
So I
Okay.
was active over those. Well, had an active license, but I was inactive in a sense, as I wasn't practicing real estate in Florida
Right.
because I'd
Okay.
been doing so many other
Okay.
things. But I kept it active. I always did all of my continuing education. And when I got to New
Yeah.
York, they had a decent reciprocity program at this point. I think since then, this was about 2 years ago, they've changed the rules and they've made it a little difficult. But with transaction volume in the past, broker sign offs, and some other things, I was quickly able to do like a remedial course, and I was able to obtain a broker's license in New York, which was really great, and I'm super blessed for that. So as soon as I got my broker's
Yeah.
license, I was off to the races. Um,
That's fabulous. So what was your inspiration? Like, is your inspiration in real estate all the way back to the roots with the relationship with the
yeah,
gentleman, the Brazilian jiu-jitsu friend, and like you saw the
yeah,
success and the luxury market and all of that, and that's really what inspired you sort of back then and even today.
absolutely.
Is that would you say
Yeah,
that's true?
that's
Okay.
absolutely fair. I think that we realized from a very young age that real estate was a fantastic way to kind of escape the normal 9 to 5, right? If you have a couple properties with a couple
Yeah.
tenants, you can quickly be generating, sizable cash flow. You can leverage these assets and go on to bigger and better. So I think that we always had this kind of grandiose vision that one day we would be managing a portfolio of 300 units across the nation, and that was sort of the dream. And I think I've always been kind of on a path of, or a journey rather, of gathering the experience that I need to have the confidence to go out and
Yeah.
do that on my own.
Yeah. So fast forward now to the
Absolutely.
last few years, and you've now joined Kelly, and you're part of that group. I'm not going to say team. I want to be careful about that. But um, like, describe today what it is
Absolutely.
you're doing. Like, how do you spend your time? How are you making your commissions?
Yeah.
What's a day in the
So,
life look like for you?
um, after I kind of wrapped up the trade experience, I coupled that with my real estate experience, and I came in
Hmm.
here. I started. So Kelly Real Estate and Development is one of the largest home builders on Long Island. Collectively, we built about 2,000 homes,
Hmm.
and we have hundreds of units in active development that span luxury housing, residential, tract housing, subdivisions. We do commercial, industrial, you name it. I'm literally sitting in our office here where we have a 10,000 square foot office building going up down the block right in front of a parcel where we did a 497 unit development. So I came into this large machine, but granted, we're still a very small organization, very family owned, family run team who manages and handles a lot of production. And I realized that really quickly on. So I started as a procurement manager, and my goal was just generally to pick up and learn as much as I could here. So hands-on experience as far as
Yeah.
bidding out homes, estimating projects. That was how I kind of came up to speed, is like learning how do we build a home? What are the steps in the process? How are we getting estimates? What are the contractors we're working with? How are they insured? Sort of all of these steps that go into developing land as well as building properties. So I got a very good, a very quick get up to speed, Brian, sort of course in that. And then it was quickly on to, the sales aspect of it. We're turning out, I think, in the next couple of years, we maybe got 40 single family homes and a couple hundred units from senior housing all the way up to resale townhomes and condos. So we've got a lot of inventory that we have to turn over. So I quickly turned on the sales hat again.
Wow.
And I've really been
Hmm.
diving in since then, which has attributed to kind of the volume and the ultimate reason we're talking, which was the election by RISmedia's Rookie of the Year in New York for that high volume
Yes.
transaction.
Yes. And you've had high volume. I think we talked a little bit like first half of 2025, almost 7 million, and on track to potentially be over 11 million right now. And so you've had a super successful year. What did you expect if you could go back to a year and a half ago or 2 years ago? What did you expect your first year or two in real estate to look like in this
It's
new
it's going to
environment that
sound
you were in?
strange, but I kind of envision this, and this is kind of where I saw it
Good.
kind of going. I didn't really understand how many projects we would be actively managing and selling and moving, and it's kind of blown me away the amount of capacity that we have with such a small team here. And I take that on, and I really feel like part of the family. So it's the workload is just tremendous, and we love it. And we're up late, and we're up early, and it's incredible. But I kind of was prepared myself for this coming in, and it's been a roller coaster, especially in a market like New York, which is one of the New York metropolitan market is traditionally like I don't know how to say it, but the most valuable, competitive marketplace in the entire world, if not the country. So
Mm.
kind of fitting in here where, people definitely have established footholds, and there's relationships that have been established long even before I was born. It's definitely been a lot to catch up to, but I think that my whole goal was when I got here was to be ultra kind, ultra friendly, introduce myself, and kind of approach it in this attitude of how can I help you? I have a product I would like to showcase to you, and if I could help you in any other capacity, That's what I'd like to do. So I think I've been able to, craft and establish really good relationships, really good networks. And, the people here are phenomenal and the people in our industry are phenomenal. We attract some amazing characters. So it's just been really fun kind of developing this network. And I feel like I've been welcomed for the most part to this new place.
That's wonderful, and I would agree. I think people in real estate are amazing, great personalities,
Absolutely.
lots of personality, right, in real estate. So, when you got your license and when did you get licensed in New York? How
Yeah,
long ago
roughly.
was that?
Yeah.
A year and a half or 2 years ago? Yeah, and how long from the time you got that New York license
Wow.
to your first closed
Let's see.
transaction?
3 months,
About.
I would say. Yeah. 2, 3 months.
Yeah, okay. Pretty good, pretty good. And what do you think were the biggest challenges as you got started in New York and this, sort of newer environment, but you have a pretty deep background in real estate, but this is all a little bit new. What was the biggest challenge for you?
I wouldn't necessarily. Well, it was a challenge in that I had to spend a lot of time learning the market. I think that I've always been personable, and sales has always kind of come natural to me. But I think before I feel confident enough to kind of engage in that process, I really need to feel like I have a grip or an understanding on the general market. So I did a lot of market analysis, pricing per square footage across
Yeah.
all of the towns around here and all of the cities, and kind of seeing what was pulled off the market, what expired, what was canceled. How are the brokers kind of manipulating the price action so that they can move product? These are just kind of things that happen on the day to day in a market that kind of the general public doesn't see. They just see the way that the prices are trending, but that goes down to like an individual property level. And in the cities and the towns and the counties that we had property in, I think it was definitely a lot of time spent understanding how I could develop a pricing strategy that would allow us to be successful as a builder and developer, but at the same time be very competitive in the marketplace. So I think that that was definitely one of the larger challenges for sure.
Yeah, I would imagine, and good advice. Our audience is individuals who are thinking about a career in real estate or recently licensed and sort of looking to find their way and really grow their business and inspiration and ideas. And I think you just talking about some of your background, the things you've touched on, super inspiring and very interesting. So now thinking about that audience, and thinking about your first year, any advice you would give to them, like, hey, if you're getting started for the first time, here are things that are kind of must do for
Absolutely.
you as you're
And
getting
I was
started?
actually thinking about this because we had discussed this previously, and um, I
Yeah.
I think that in the position that I'm in right now, I'm very grateful. I'm grateful in that I have agents who contact me every day asking for listings. Right? They say you guys are building fantastic properties. How can I be involved, and what can I do to kind of you know list your homes or kind of get involved with you guys. How do I find more listings? Kind of along those lines. Um, and I tell them, very similar things. And this is something that's kind of been frustrating me a little bit lately. Is that you know I'll sell your property when I have the listing, right? I hear that a lot, and that's something that just doesn't drive well. And I mean, I think it's just kind of a general attitude here at our company is if that's the approach that you take, we don't necessarily want to do business with you. And I would say kind of to new agents specifically is like, you don't need a listing to sell a home, right? You don't need your name and lights, and you don't need the glitz and the glamour that comes with being associated with, oh, this is my property. I think that um, some one of the things that I see is that, especially here in New York, is you have developer representatives. So in New York or Miami or large cities around the world, they'll throw up a building and they'll hire a sales team to sell it out. Traditionally, that sales team was sort of looked at as like the end all be all. It's like you want to be on the sales team that's representing these ultra luxury and these fantastic products. But, I've seen it so many times is that there'll be people on these incredible sales teams that just can't sell a home or can't move a unit. Um, and one thing that I would like to tell, agents is it's not about getting listings, right? It's not about having your name and lights. It's about having a buyer, or for that matter, putting a buyer together with a seller. Because at the end of the day, the people today who are selling my properties and my listings, they're not the developers agents. They're not the builders agents, right? These are the buyers agents who are out there, who are hustling. These are the people who are on the phones. These are the people who I see in mailboxes, who I see on signs. Um, it's those people who are really out there, and they're not complacent. It's very easy to, have a listing and get complacent and say, "Oh, I got the listing. Everyone's going to come to me." But really, that's not the market. And, you know, fortunately, I've been through a couple of cycles of real estate. New agents, you know, are coming into a market like today may say, "Oh, it's tough," or "Oh, there's not a lot of buyers out there," "Oh, everything's kind of constricting," and we see the market kind of, coming down. But, the people need to move, and real estate is just a kind of a something that is a need. It's goes along with, having paper towels in your home. You need a place to live. So there's always going to be a need. There's always going to be desire, but the effort that you put into, making a deal happen, whether it's being a buyer's agent or a seller's agent, that's the most important thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good advice. And, Brian, as you're talking, I often hear and I talk with folks like when you get into real estate, you're not getting in for today's market. You're getting in for the market over 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And it's going to change, right? We know that about real estate. There are ups and downs, and you have to be able to operate in all different market conditions. Like this is a marathon, not a sprint, right? Like so there's you got to be able to operate. So in with that being said, talk a little bit to me about your marketing and what's been really successful for you. And you obviously have a bit of a marketing background. You've done this before. Like in today's market, what you're doing today, what's
Absolutely.
been really
And
successful
it's
for
really
you?
interesting because this is something that kind of I revisit on a weekly, daily basis. What's working and what's not working. And I would tell you that my top hits, right? Most interested buyers, most interested sellers come by way of seeing you in their local community. So this is hyper local and local advertising. So if you have
Yeah.
signs, if you do mailers, very specific targeting seems to be working the best for us. So we get the most amount of calls off of people
Mhm.
driving by our signs. Um, you know, Second to that, I would say social and digital advertising is
Mhm.
fantastic. Um, I've We run a lot of ads on Facebook, Instagram, social media, so that's a great way. But I would caution everyone: it's not just about getting a name and a phone number. These you're creating your network, and you're really crafting a database because you
Mhm.
know whether the person wants to sell a home now or their need is in 10 years from now, you still want to capture that lead, let's call it. Well, it's really a relationship, and you want to bring that person into your family, into your
Sure.
database. So we run a lot of advertising campaigns, but I'm not driving people to, specific, properties or, take an action. Here's the price. It's more of, I'd like to educate you. This is what we do. Can we have your information so that we can update you sort of as we move along? So that's been a highly successful. I'd say third place to that is something that we're pretty new to, and you know, there's been this pretty large debate kind of over the past 5-10 years. Is like, is print media dying? Right? We've seen newspapers come and go. Some of the largest newspapers in the country are being bought, sold, and people are not necessarily picking up, a magazine anymore and flipping through it, unless it's a local magazine or something that's really targeted to you and specific to your interests. So the print media companies contact us a lot because we do a lot of business, especially around here. Um, they will contact us and they'll try and get us in their fall specials or their, you know, December newsletters around the holidays. And we've done a lot of that, but we haven't seen much success from print. So that's not to say that print is dying. I think that they've switched gears now. So, larger companies are now teaming up with these big streaming companies like Hulu and Netflix and YouTube and these large, and even Amazon Prime, right? These large companies that are able to acquire tremendous amounts of data on their customers are able to get very granular and very targeted. So, if somebody is in my state, New York, and they're watching a show about fishing, and their IP address pings them on the North Shore of Long Island, we can send them an advertisement for a new community or a new rental property that we're leasing in that specific area. So I'm really interested in that, and I'm excited to see how that shakes out and what that looks like over the next couple months. I think that that's kind of the future of very targeted marketing. So those are my top 3,
Yeah.
4 marketing strategies that I'm using today.
Yeah. And Bryan, if individuals sort of want to follow your path, because we talk a lot here, like individuals who are out there, they're, their own business, buyers and sellers agent, they're out there getting clients day to day. Yours is a little bit different, right? Because you're working with the construction, the building side. Like, what would you say if somebody wants to follow the path you're on that they should be connecting with, working on,
Absolutely.
so
It's a
on
great
and so
question.
forth?
My path was unique and it was long. Um,
So you wouldn't
I
recommend the
maybe not
exact
the
path you
exact path,
took?
but I think that I was not necessarily motivated by money. I mean, money is a fantastic motivator, but I was always kind of curious to learn
Yeah.
more. I was lucky enough to catch the real estate bug pretty early on. I was on forums and like Bigger Pockets when Bigger Pockets didn't even work on the internet. And we were just a group of people that were just kind of spreading ideas in these blog pages. So, I would say that interest is probably number one. Is you need to follow your interest, and then 2, it's go and get the experience that you need, even if it's ancillary. So, for me, if you want to be a builder or you want to be a developer, you should probably know what it takes to build or develop. And I was sitting in a cushy office, but I closed my laptop and I said, I'm going to start at the bottom. And, I'm sitting there inhaling drywall dust and grinding HVAC returns and remodeling bathrooms and kitchens. And it wasn't the most glamorous work, but I knew that the experience would carry over with me. And it's when you can kind of compound your experience. It may not necessarily be, experience in the same field, but kind of it will all compound and kind of get you to a place where you can ultimately have a better understanding of kind of your interest. So, yeah, I would say,
Hmm. Yeah. Talk about building from the ground up, both
yeah,
literally and figuratively, right? Because you've done it. You've done it both ways. So what do you think is next for you? Where do you see
that's
yourself
good.
in
I,
5
I
years?
hope I'm still here. I was actually thinking about this last
Me
night.
too.
I was like looking at my LinkedIn, and I've only been here almost going on 2 years, let's call it now. And I was like, when I see other people on
Yeah.
LinkedIn or social media, and they've been at a company for like 6 years or 10 years, I'm really like, wow, that person's like they're solid, you know? So I hope that I can continue to add value to this this building and real
Yeah.
estate company. Um, we're building out a lot of different aspects of our company right now. We weren't traditionally a resale company, but recently we've taken in a couple agents. So moving into like a managing broker capacity where I'm overseeing some agents, and especially as these larger product projects come due, there's often times where we're property managing and we're doing leasing and staffing and sales. So having a team and developing a team that is very well versed in kind of the same things that we do, um, that's a very large goal, because I think that everybody here does so much, right? We all do so much, and when you can it's like the common thing is, oh, I need a clone, right? Or I need somebody else who can kind of carry this workload. But the hardest part is finding people who can kind of, I'd rather do it myself, kind of thing. So kind of stepping away from that mentality and kind of bringing people in the fold, sharing information, educating, so that others can kind of take some of that workload on when it comes in. I think that as I grow and as our company grows and we get better at marketing, and our lead pipeline is more streamlined, there are times where 50 leads will come in a day, and if you don't have the person or the right person to hand them off to, you can quickly demonetize something that you've spent a lot of dollars on. So I think team building is definitely a goal in the next 2 to 5 years. And I think just staying involved in kind of everything that's going on. I think it's a gift and a curse kind of in this field, because you can be in a project for 2 years or 3 years while you're seeing this kind of come to light, but there's stability in that, as long as kind of we can keep the machine churning, right? We have a large team, a lot of project
Mhm.
managers, a lot of estimators, sales associates, and the list goes on. The payroll is very high, so being able to kind of maintain the speed at which we're operating, and kind of pass the ball off to others so that frees up time to do more is definitely the goal.
Yeah. I think we'd all like to clone ourselves. I'd like to clone myself, but maybe put in some extra superpowers or something that you know, clone myself, but maybe a
Absolutely.
little bit better version. So not
Do
to put you on
please.
the spot, but Brian, you've talked a lot, you've talked a lot about like real estate being a people business and it's all about the connections. Are there any client experiences that have stood out to you over
Yes.
your
Let's
your
let's talk about the bad
experience?
ones, because those are always the juicy ones, right? These are the
Okay, let's go
so
there.
um the resale world is a little bit different from kind of the world that we play in. When we're building custom homes, um, it's very granular, right? Down to the hoses that you put behind your toilet, right? Do you want them in gold or do you want them in chrome? So this is something that I specifically struggled with when I was really young. Is that, and I was telling Alicia about this a little while ago. Is um, you know, I've always been kind of a very analytical person, very investment ROR kind of like let's talk about the numbers kind of person. So you could sit down with a couple, and you could say, hey, this is the property, right? This is historical trends. I think it's a great deal because of X, Y, and Z. Other properties are trading in this area at a much higher valuation. This is probably the worst house on the nicest block. This is what the investment looks like, and let's do like a 10-year on this. We're looking at good deal, right? And one of the parties could say, oh, fantastic, right? I love it. It's sounds good. And then the other party could walk in and say, but I don't like the color of the paint. And that kills the deal immediately. So because real estate is a very client dependent and a very emotional process for most people. That can make it difficult at
Sure.
times. Even
Yeah.
agents, right? We get hung up on the emotions of a deal. Oh, this has been taking too long and we're about to pass deadlines and everyone's getting nervous. It's like, no, let's just focus on what we have to do here, right? We have a couple different steps. Let's handle this in a very logical way. Let's get to the finish line so that everybody's happy at the end of the day. So kind of going along with that, I think that some of the most controversial kind of experiences and the most troubling experiences is that I've had are especially things on deadlines. It's, you know, people can be wishy-washy, right? And it's not a fault to them by any means. It's just sometimes it's difficult to make a decision, whether it's a decision on what sink you want or it's a decision on what city that you want to live in. I think that kind of the biggest struggles that I've had are kind of helping people to sort of make up their own mind, because I would never want to kind of push my views. And especially kind of as a realtor and a broker, we have rules, right? We can't steer. We can't tell someone, hey, work with this person. There's a lot of things that we have to be cognizant of when we're dealing in good faith, especially with other agents, with clients, and even with our own internal teams. So I think that kind of having the patience to help clients and help others kind of figure things out and come to terms with their own understanding of how the process should work has been kind of is one of the larger struggles. And for new agents specifically,
Yeah.
um, you know, this goes into sort of your vetting process as well. It's like when you meet somebody and you begin to work with them, you don't want to waste time, right? Time is the most precious commodity that we have. And if we don't have a way to kind of quickly identify, you know, what's the goal? What's the purpose? How do we achieve it? And can it be done? As in, is your client pre-qualified, right? Do they have money for a down payment, right? If they want to upgrade their kitchen to Sub-Zero and Wolf appliances, are they able to afford it? Does it work in the home, right? So being able to kind of quickly identify, and it comes with experience, right? But I would say that that's
Yeah.
definitely for
Sure.
new agents, specifically one of the most important things that you can do is kind of define this set of criteria that you need when you're accepting clients or when you're working with clients, so that you can not spin your wheels and waste time. Because I've had so many times where I've just been run around in circles by clients, even when I know better. I'll still allow a client to,
Yeah.
make 5 different choices on a rain head in their shower. Or even when a client says, yeah, don't worry, the earnest money deposit check will be in tomorrow. And then it's 2 weeks later and they say, I went to the bank, the deposit says it cleared on my end. So really kind of this relationship developing, as well as having a set of criteria so that you can quickly identify what you want to put your energy into and what you don't.
Hmm. Yeah, it's
Thank you.
really, really good advice, and I think that is true whether you're working with new construction and new home sales with any buyer. Like, how do you balance the amount of time you put in with the actual result? Because unfortunately, real real estate
Yeah.
professionals often work for free when they don't get to the closing table. And so I think it's really, really solid advice. So
Love it.
we're going to jump into our lightning round, Brian. Just a couple of fun questions, 60 seconds or less. Some of it could be personal, it doesn't have to be real estate specific. So the first one I'm going to ask you is there a book or a podcast that you would recommend
Yes.
to the audience
I'm gonna
and
say
why?
it fast because this is my best gem. The book's called The Real Estate Game, and it was written by Dr. Poorvu. He was a Harvard business professor, and he wrote this book, I believe, in the early 90s, outlining kind of his experience through the 70s, 80s, 90s, into 2000s. And one of my first internships out of university was with Investments Limited, which is in Boca Raton, Florida. And the principal of the company, his name's
Mhm.
James Batmazian. I think he's a billionaire now. Congratulations, James. Um, But I had
Yeah.
a fantastic experience working as a commercial leasing intern in his office, and they're very similar to the company that I worked at today, that I work at today, in that they're developers. They own and manage a lot of their own inventory. And James Batmazian started with one apartment that he leased out. It just started with one for him. And in his office, he had a bookshelf, and it was a little excessive, the amount of copies of this book that he had. But again, Real Estate Game by Dr. I think it's William Poorvu, Poorvu. And it outlines kind of anything that you could ever want to know about real estate, from cash flow analysis to appraisals and valuations to structuring your deals, bringing on GPs, LPs, fund operations, down to, site prep, site selection, like, covers the whole gambit. So that's my gem there.
That's a great one, and I am not familiar with it, but I gotta tell you, I ask this question a lot, and I always get different
Oh
answers. I'm
yeah.
gonna have to create a list.
Send me that
It's
list
great
when.
hearing about all these. There's not enough time. Yes, I know. We're gonna have to
So,
create that and
yeah.
get it posted. Um, so Brian, this is a loaded question for you, but if we could go back to the
Mhm.
day you started this journey, what
Hmm.
might you do differently and why?
Well, it's difficult to look back. I think that patience has always been something that I've needed to work on in my world. I think
Yeah.
that when I first began in this career, I wasn't the best listener, right? I was concerned about myself. I was concerned about my commission. I was concerned about the miles and the time that I was putting into it. But um, it's not about that, right? It's about the client. At the end of the day, we are here to facilitate a transaction because the client has needs and desires. So if I could go back, I would definitely fix my little meter on patience and understanding. Oh my God, my boss is here. She's making fun of me. I know.
I think that's
My God.
it's fair. That's fine.
Oh
You'll
my
have to
God. They're
get the
gonna kill
feedback
me for
later
this one
and see if
later.
she would agree or not. That's
Telling you.
great. That's
Patience. Yeah.
great. So
Okay.
so if you could have
Sure.
dinner with one person, dead or
Dead
alive,
or
who would it
alive?
be?
Huh. Wow. It's a good question.
You could I know, could go a lot of
I
different
mean,
ways with that,
this is like,
right?
I'm sure everybody says this right now, but it was probably a Bezos or a Musk. Just because I just appreciate and respect kind of what they've been able to accomplish on such a large scale. And, Musk is super interesting, and his vision is super, super interesting. And then Bezos is just like this quiet superhero. So I think it would be one of those two guys.
It'd
Oh, yeah.
probably be a
I would hope on
five-course
a
meal,
boat, absolutely.
I would
I
imagine,
can't
right?
pull my boat up there. I'd have to get on that
That's right.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah, that would be such an interesting dinner. Well, if you
yeah.
get the opportunity, I hope I
Well,
get an invite.
yeah,
So, yeah. So, tell us, what did you do at work
oh,
yesterday? What was your
yesterday,
day like?
I have a list right here. Sheesh. So, I'm working on selection sheets. We're developing a new subdivision, and right now we're kind of selecting what plumbing fixtures, whether they're Kohler or Delta or Signature, we want to put in the home, and kind of the color combinations there.
Mhm.
Trying to figure out what people like more today. Do they like brass, gold, chrome, gunmetal, black? So we're working on that. We're doing we've got two homes right now that are in kind of the rough stages. So we've got our plumbing, our electrical, and our HVAC going in. So we're working on electrical upgrades with homeowners. These are kind of figuring out where hi-hats are going to go, figuring out where light switches are going to go, TV outlet placement, things like that, occupancy sensors, under cabinet lighting. So I'm doing a lot of that. I worked on that yesterday. Um, we are working with our architects right now to name some of the new home models that we have. Um, so we're kind of working on that. What else am I doing? Looking to set up some ads to hire some new agents. So we're trying to bring in some new agents. And then I'm creating a lookbook for another one of our communities. So I've been kind of looking at some of the, um, developers and kind of buildings that we aspire to be like. Um, a lot of them are in like Sunny Isles Beach and Florida. Bentley just did a building, and the Ritz-Carlton just did another building in South Beach. So I'm kind of taking some inspiration from some of their lookbooks and seeing kind of the information that they're dispersing to customers, clients, other brokers. And so I'm working on that. Um, yeah, that's some of the stuff. There's so much other stuff that I just, ugh.
So much. Yeah. Well, it's good to hear because a lot of time, like I said, we talk with a lot of folks who are in very
Mhm.
traditional real estate sales, and
Absolutely.
your life is a little bit different than that, right? Than a lot of folks that we typically talk to, but it's still in real estate. And I love getting the exposure about what you're doing and your journey. I think it's been super insightful and helpful for our audience. And I would love to ask as we sort of pull things together here. Couple last questions. One is any final advice for our listeners from your experience, the journey you've taken, and how they can explore their careers and make the most of their time as they, are looking to find extreme
Huh.
success in real estate?
I wouldn't. I don't know if it would be like last advice, but I just kind of just reiterate sort of everything that we've been kind of talking about. It's this business is
Yeah.
very relationship driven. So when you're building your network
Yeah.
and when you're getting in front of people, I think having a message and having a purpose and a goal that's oriented kind of to your clients is sort of the most important thing. So, you know, be patient with your clients and really listen to them. And I'm not saying be patient as in let them walk all over you, but be patient with yourself so that you can open your ears and really fill the need. Because that's what it's about. It's about filling the need that the client has, whether it's for rental property, whether it's for a condo or an apartment, or whether it's for a home, a freestanding home. Um, it's it's really easy to kind of, especially in real estate, get caught up in like the glitz and the glamour. It's like, oh, this house is beautiful, and this has this, and this has this, but we don't want to take our clients away from their purpose and their goal. So that would probably be
Yeah.
my best course of piece of advice is.
Well, thank you, Brian. I appreciate that advice. Where can listeners and viewers find you, follow your journey, connect with you?
Absolutely.
What's
So
the
I
best place for that?
am personally pretty private on my social medias and things like that, but you can find me at Bryan Coco Homes, Bryan Coco Coco Homes. That's my handle. I think on most things. And then our company is Kelly Real Estate. So we are Kelly Real Estate LI, and we would love to kind of have the listeners and the viewers follow along on our journey. We just wrapped up some really cool projects. We built a hotel in West Hampton Beach, in the Hamptons here, for a client, and it was an old inn from like the 1800s, and we actually had to lift this property off of the foundation, pour a new foundation, and we have video of the whole process. So you can find that on our Instagram, on our social media. Um, that's at Kelly Real Estate LI. Yeah.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Bryan, congratulations on your success. You have such an interesting journey, and I have no doubt you're going to continue to grow. And I really appreciate you taking the time to share all of that, the ups and the downs, and sort of the candid background. And yeah, excited to see where you go from here. And congratulations on your success and
Thank
to
you so
the
much,
company
Tina.
as well. Good
Thank
luck
you
to you.
again. It was great. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Unlocking Real Estate, My First Commission. We hope today's stories and insights inspired you to take that next step in your real estate journey. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode, or head over to our channel to see some of the other content we've produced. We'd also love to hear from you. Drop a comment below with your biggest takeaway or a question for our next guest. If you have a recommendation for someone we should interview, please send a note to unlockingrealestate@colibrirealestate.com.